պատում չի, ինքը fuck match-ն է։
Չի ձախողվում են մարդը, ոչ մի բան չի անում։
Դա ուրեմն մեր առաջի խոսացողը, մեր առաջի խոսնակը Լիլիթ Revazian, որին շատ պատահական հանդիպեցինք, ես իր անունը դրել եմ serendipity, ոնց որովհետև իրան տենց հանկարծակի գտանք, բայց իր պատմությունը շատ հետաքրքիր է, ինքը դիզայներ է, որ այս պահին բնակվում է Բոստոնում, բայց հեսա կպատմի ինքը ավելի լավ։
Okay, so I have my presentation up and running. Thank you for the wait. Yeah, I'm very happy to be able to present in front of you today with the Fuckup Nights. Happy that this is a tradition that will take off, and there'll be many stories afterwards as well. A little bit about myself. My name is Lilit Revazian. I'm a designer. I have lived and worked in a variety of countries like Armenia, Russia, and United States. Lately based in Boston. I work as an interior designer in an architecture firm. And in the past, in Armenia, I've also have been doing branding and graphic design. My story will be about how I helped to establish as well as failed a tech startup. And so we'll start the story. The story really started when I was working at TUMO Center for Creative Technologies. I've met many brilliant people at the center. Among those were 3 engineers, young, passionate, highly skilled and talented people. And as a group of 4, we were very passionate about creating a business of our own, establishing a company and developing a product. And so we did. We left the jobs that we had. We got together and shaped the company idea as well as the product idea. The company name was Lion Sharp. Maybe some of you have heard of it previously. The product name was VoiceBoard. And very shortly about the product, it was a software for interactive presentations. So the idea was to have multiple inputs like gesture and voice control to make the presentations more interactive. My role within the company was branding, graphic design, and UX UI. Basically everything that engineers wouldn't do. Among the first challenges that we faced was about securing initial funding to get the company going. And even 5-6 years ago, the startup ecosystem in Armenia wasn't as developed yet. So to secure some funding, we had to go all the way to Bulgaria, where we got accepted to an acceleration program that allowed us to have our first 6 months of product and company development. Those were very challenging times, and as a young company, there are many things that you should be taking care about. Majority of it is a lot of doing different tweaks to the product, realizing what the product is, really how many features does it have, what is your market, etc. And I'd say that we would tweak the company names, the taglines, the product names every second day, along with all the attributes that go with it, such as logos, color schemes, interface design. So there are a lot of changes that usually you go through on a daily basis with a startup, and you're going to be mentally ready for it. Among other interesting things is that we were also very hardworking, passionate people. We made a lot of progress with the product, got a lot of exposure, so that secured us the further stages of funding already with Armenian and American investors. So at some point we grew to the scale of approximately 10 to 12 people, and we were able to open a little office in Yerevan, which was a great moment for us as a startup, but as well as realizing that we need to make the further steps and show some serious traction with what we have. So the further stage was going out and trying to get the product that we had at that moment, which was a tool for the presentations, to the market that we thought that should be interested in it. We thought that the United States and Western market is the best one for such a tool. So that's why we always had at least 2-3 people, or maybe half of the office, kind of missing and being around in the different countries, presenting, trying to get the product out there. It was an interesting learning curve, and I'd say that among the biggest challenges is to understand what is really the need for the product, who does really need your product, who is ready to pay for it. We got on stages of very famous brands such as CS in Las Vegas, Wired, and TechCrunch. We were on a lot of meetings with potential clients. And the interesting factor is that it's very hard to judge what is the need for the product, because we would get a lot of positive feedback. People would be really excited. They would say, oh, this looks cool. I would be able to use it. This sounds really exciting. But when we would go on a meeting with a potential client and trying to secure a deal, people wouldn't be ready to pay for it. So at some point, in about a year after we started, we realized that the market doesn't really need what we have at the moment exactly, and we would need to develop many more features or change the product entirely to get it successful. So that's where the stage is when we have already burned through majority of cash and realized that probably we're going to close the company because of the lack of sales. So not being able to make the necessary amount of profit is one of the reasons as many startups fail, including ours. And the entire learning curve is a very interesting process for about a year and a half of our startup existence. I describe it as a very sharp roller coaster ride that you have, that you spend a lot of energy, but you don't know how to exactly get it right, and you learn a lot of things as you go. So I would like to share several things that I have learned through the process, and these are the things that I'd say, oh, I wish I knew all of this in the very beginning. So first of all, as a group of young and motivated people, still we were first-time founders, so none of us had the previous business experience in a serious way, and I'd say that that weakens a tech startup by a lot. If you don't have people with sales background among your team members, there is a weak point that should be rather compensated, as well as trying to understand how to operate on a daily basis. Operations take a lot of the energy and resources from the company. So we were operating in multiple countries. We had a company in Bulgaria. We had a registered company in Armenia. We also had a registered company in the United States. So that creates a very complex company structure. We also had, in every country, we would have a lawyer and an accountant. So that's very tough to maintain. So that was probably one of the reasons that became very complex for us to handle. Another thing to share is understanding what is the need of your product for the market, and also trying not to delay the test. So let's say you have an idea, you want to develop a product demo, and you aim for the local or Western market, then usually I'd say it's the best to try to get it out as soon as possible to get the feedback as soon as possible as well. Because for us, it was one of the points that we realized that very late in the stage. We were interested in the United States market from the very beginning, but it took us about 9 months to get there, being able to secure all the meetings, spend enough time there researching, and it was a very long learning curve. And 9 months or about a year for a startup is a lot of time. So the sooner you're able to get something out and test it, the better. Disconnect with the market, I think it's a very valuable problem for many Armenian startups because of the geographical location. Sometimes we get inspired from what is happening in Silicon Valley and get inspired by Western models, and we try to act in the same way. But we should really be realistic about the logistics time of being able to connect with the market. And usually I'd say if a company is really interested in being engaged with the Western market, it's good to estimate that should be at least 1 or 2 people constantly being there, let's say in the United States, working with the potential customers, investors, etc. So that's a logistical issue that is better to be estimated from the very beginning. Yeah, another thing is fundraising. If any of you maybe will have a chance in the future to do, it's a lot of fun. And when you're trying to secure funding for a startup, usually it's better to really understand if you have a strategic investor versus an investor that just gives you support money, because that's two very different ideas. Sometimes they've been referred as stupid money and smart money. So a good investor would usually bring in a lot of knowledge, a network, maybe introduced to people in the market that could become potential customers, a network that he adds. So those are things to be considered while looking for funding. Yeah, and mainly it's the profit that is most important for a startup. There is a very good quote that a very famous entrepreneur named Kevin O'Leary made, that if you're not making money during the first 18 months, take it behind the bar and shoot it. That means that if you don't have enough focus on making the profit and you realize that you're not making money, at some point it's better to make the rough decision and close the company or change the product or etc. So having your own business is really a chain of tough decision-making processes, and it's good to be ready for those. I think that the theme of tonight are really the mistakes and the lessons learned from those, and I think that it's the attitude that really matters the most, because you're never really, when you want to go on a venture, establish a business or lead certain effort, you're never really fully ready for that experience. You kind of go and figure out those things on the way. And the best thing to do is to ask for help, ask for mentorship, ask for guidance from people who have gone through similar experiences, and be completely open about it. Kind of realize what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and try to cover the weaknesses as best as you can. Yeah, I think in Armenia it also, I have noticed, maybe you might share and agree with it or not, I think we have this mentality issue when we're a little bit proud to accept that we have failed or that we need help. So I think that's something for us to accomplish as well. There is a good, for us as a company, even though we have, after a year and a half of hard work, we have failed that exact idea, but still as human beings, we have learned a lot, and it got us an opportunity to continue to much better and further achievements in our careers. So among all the team members got further exposures or opportunities in the careers. Nigel, our CEO, ended up being in the United States and giving mentorship and guidance to other startups and teaching at the University of Alaska currently. Gevorg, our CTO, ended up in Boston, helping leading a team of 80-plus engineers in a large-scale firm out of Cambridge. Myself, I was able to complete my master's degree, and I got hired by an architecture firm, and the experience that I learned allowed me to work in a large team of 150 people and handle large-scale commercial projects. So really each of us got a huge experience that helped for the further steps, and personally being able to turn the disadvantages that you had in advantages for the future, it is a very good skill. There is a good quote by an artist, Bob Ross, that says, "We don't make mistakes, only happy accidents." So for instance, as an example, if any of us, of the team members, would be opening another venture and opening a business, then we won't be first-timers anymore. So that's an example of a happy accident.
Շնորհակալություն Լիլիթ ջան շատ։ Չէ, Fuckup Nights-ի ֆորմատի մեջ մտնում է, որ եթե դուք հարցեր ունեք Լիլիթին, իր Fuckup արած ստարտափի հետ կապված կամ ընդհանրապես կարող եք ձեր հարցերը ուղղել Լիլիթին։
Yes, please. Does anyone have any questions? Հայերեն է հարցը տակ։
Ինքը հայերեն հասկանում է, հանգիստ կարող եք
խոսում
ձեր հարցը հայերեն տալ։ Ունենք։ Եթե հիմա չունենք,
I hope like you had really good time through that 9 months where you were burning through the money and
Yeah.
well, it's not a yes or no question, maybe you can.
No, what is
I mean, did you have any fun through these months?
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was. It was fun to try to divide the responsibilities, try to see who takes care of what. Also, a lot of logistical fun. It's like how you get a group of people to operate on such a scale where like every day you need to make a lot of decisions and get things out. One of the fun moments was that even though we were developing a software tool, for example, we ended up exploring so many technologies, and engineers got so excited about different tech that we ended up with a bundle that included a ring that tracks your gestures, a microphone that tracks your voice, so it became like a box that, it became like a hardware project, accelerated very quickly. So from product perspective, we made a lot of tweaks. We went out, presented on a variety of different shows. So it was a fun experience overall.
Շնորհակալություն, շատ հետաքրքիր Լիլիթ ջան, հարցս հետևյալն է, եթե ինչպես հասկացա, դուք արդեն ոնց որ ձեր իդեան ձևափոխեցիք, հասկացաք թե ինչն էր խնդիրը, եթե դուք ստանայիք մեկ round էլ investment, արդյոք հավատում եք, որ success-ի կլինեք, թե ուղղակի no chance էր։
Կարող է տենց լիներ, դա այնպես հարց է, որ հստակ պատասխան չի լինի տալ, որովհետև երբ որ մենք գնացինք Ամերիկա, սկսեցինք հանդիպումներ ունենալ ու հասկացանք, որ մեր product-ը այդ վիճակում արդյոք պետք կարիք չունի, մարդիկ դրա համար պատրաստ չեն վճարել, կարող է շատ ավելի շատ ժամանակ պետք լիներ, մինչև մենք սկսենք ինչ-որ հետաքրքիր feature-ներ իր մեջ մտցնել, որ պետք լիներ։ То есть կարող է մենք funding-ը secure անենք, մի 9 ամիս անցներ ու նոր product լիներ, որի համար որ need լիներ, it could be an option, but fact-ը այնպես էր, որ մենք այդ ժամանակ արդեն այդ resource-ներից run out արեցինք, որ կարողանանք ավելի մի 9 ամսվա պրոյեկտ անենք կամ նոր fundraising cycle անենք, որտեղ որ fundraising ես անում, պետք է հստակ product-ը ու այդ ինչ-որ paying customer-ն ինչ-որ foundation ունենաս, որ կարողանաս fundraising անես։ So մենք այդ kind of span-ի information կամ product demo չունենք։ փոփոխություններ երևի շատ պետք է լիներ։ So it's a yes or no. It could be, but didn't happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just curious. Is it safe to live in America nowadays or not?
Well, I didn't die. I'm alive. Well, it's an interesting question. It's Armenia is very safe in comparison with the United States. The United States is also a very large country. It has many different states and many different cities, and those cities have different neighborhoods. Sometimes the neighborhoods are very safe, sometimes they're not too safe, so you gotta be careful. But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't seen people who have, got into serious accidents yet. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Շատ շնորհակալություն Լիլիթին։